Hey everyone, and welcome to my walkthrough for Phase 7 of the Dragonsong's Reprise Ultimate. In this one we'll be fighting Dragon King Thordan, and it's also the final phase of the fight. Now before we get into Phase 7, quickly want to go over the transition to Phase 7 again, because this is kind of important. You don't want to be using any mitigation here just yet. There's going to be 2 rate-wide AoEs with a bleed attached to them. You only want to be using your spammable shields and then also just heal up normally like you otherwise would, without using any of your actual mitigation like Shake It Off, Shield Samba, that kind of stuff. You want to wait with using that until the second bleed is done. So you wait until the last few seconds over here and then you can start using it. Everything except your shielded mitigation, because you don't want the bleed to start eating away at your shield already. So as soon as the bleed is gone, pop all of your mitigation and then we go into Phase 7. Now for this one, the boss is going to spawn facing south. So that's also where we're going to be standing so that the boss doesn't turn around. Now, important for your tanks right here, make sure that you both have your tank stance on, because throughout the whole fight you'll want to be first and second in aggro. This has to do with the auto attacks. Auto attacks of the boss are a mechanic on themselves, but we'll talk about that when we actually see the autos in action. Secondly, for the Exaflares, which is the first mechanic, you will always want to be facing the boss north or south. And the reason why you want to do that is because the Exaflares spawn relative to where the boss is facing, and north and south we have these diamond markings on the arena, and we'll be using those to dodge the Exaflares. Exaflares are semi-random, but if the boss is facing north or south, you can always use the arena to do your dodge, because the safe spots are always exactly the same. We are always going to be doing it at the back of the boss. So boss spawns, tanks are getting aggro on the boss, and then we have Exaflares Edge. Now the edge part of this mechanic, this is going to be in all 3 of the big mechanics of this phase, is going to be referring to his swords. If his swords are frozen, like they are right here, it means inside safe. If his swords are on fire, that means outside safe. This in and out mechanic will lock in immediately at the end of the cast, so it only determines where your starting position is going to be for the mechanic. As soon as it resolves, you can just move about freely. So for the Exaflare dodge itself, it's going to be super easy right here. Our first dodge is going to be starting right next to the Exaflare at the back of the boss. Then we are going to be moving inwards to where you can kind of see this line coming down from the sky. Then we're going to move backwards to where these 2 diamonds intersect on the map, and then we're moving back to the boss. That's the dodge that we're going to be doing every single time this mechanic happens. So we stand on the inside because it's going to be inside safe. We move to the line, wait for the second explosion, move to the intersection, back to the boss, end of the mechanic. Now, the reason why we kind of do it like this in terms of our dodge is because it makes it really easy for the next set of auto attacks. There are 3 mechanics, there are 3 different sets of auto attacks, and there are 6 people in total that need to go take these autos as well. So it's very easy to say melees take the auto attacks after Exaflares, then for example after Akh Morn we have our range take them, and after Gigaflare we have our healers take them, so it adds some nice consistency to this phase. The Exaflare auto attacks are also the fastest ones that come out after this mechanic, so that's why it's important that you have everything predetermined already. So for this one, we have 1 tank go left, 1 tank go right of the group, and then the melee that has to take the auto attack is immediately running into the boss. So the way these autos work is very simple. First and second in aggro will get hit with either a light or a dark debuff, depending on if you're first or second, and then the person closest to the boss is going to get hit by a light and a dark debuff. So essentially what you want to be doing here is your tanks will want to be swapping every 2 auto attacks, so every set of autos, and then there has to be a rotation through your DPS players and your healers as who is going to be taking that 3rd auto attack, because you can't take 2 in a row. So that is why here tanks are first and second, left and right, and then we have our monk, I believe in this case, stand right in the middle of the boss's hitbox. Then he's gonna run out and our ninja is gonna run in afterwards to take the second auto attack. And that's the first set done. Then we go into Akh Morn's Edge. As you can see, 3 towers have spawned. We have 1 here on the left, 1 on the right, and then 1 on the back. The 1 on the back is going to be for your tanks. This is a shared tank buster. The 1 left and right are going to be your group shares for the rest of the party. This one is with fire swords, as you can sort of see right now, so that means that we need to go outside first, but after this first hit resolves, we want to step inwards a little bit so that our healers can actually reach us with AoE heals, because if we stand on the outside of the boss's hitbox, then we won't actually get hit by all of the AoE healing. It's kind of important that you do, so that is why we want to step in after the first hit. So put up your mitigation. For your tanks, also use some personal mitigation, and then we just step inwards and heal through this damage. After this, we have another set of auto attacks. So we have ranged one go in, which is our dancer. Then we have our black mage go in. And then we go and tank swap again. Gigaflare's edge, this one is in. For Gigaflare, it's going to be really easy. These are going to be 3 proximity-based AoEs that are going to be going off. You just go opposite to where the first one is, and then you either go clockwise or counterclockwise, depending on where the second and third spawn. So the first one spawned all the way north. You can't really see it that well, but it's over here in the north side of the arena, relative to where I'm looking. And then the second one is here on our right, meaning we go clockwise. So for the first hit, we stand inside because it was inside save, and then we rotate around the boss. After this one is done, you'll want your tanks to go either north or south, because the next mechanic is going to be Exaflares. So that is why you'll want to pre-position the boss north or south, so that he is ready for the next mechanic. So here we have our healers. Healer 1 for the first auto attack, healers 2 for the second auto attack. And then we get ready for another Exaflare. Now, what's really important, especially for the Exaflare, for the rest it's not that important, but when you do your tank swaps after each set of auto attacks, wait for the next mechanic to start casting. If you provoke the boss right before Exaflare, for example, and he spins around, it's most likely going to lead to a wipe. So that's why it's kind of important that you wait for the next mechanic to lock in before you provoke the boss. In this one, we have fire sword, so that means outside save. Also pressing sprint for Exaflares is really useful. Gives you some extra time to dodge these to make sure that you're going to be safe. Again, tanks left and right for the auto attacks, and then we have our melees taking the other auto attacks. Then we go into another Akh Morn, so put up your mitigation. Make sure that you're in the right group. It's going to be inside save this time around, so we don't have to move in. We're already positioned inwards. Each time, I'm not sure if I mentioned this, but each time Akh Morn casts, it will also do 1 extra hit of damage. So the longer you go, the more damage you're going to be taking from this. So keep that in mind when you plan your mitigation. Gigaflare's edge, again, tank swap. This time we're going counterclockwise, outside save first. So first explosion goes out, we start rotating. You want to try and be max melee for this as well, so that you take the least amount of damage as possible. And then your tanks keep rotating to north or south. And then your healers are going to be taking the auto attacks. So healer 1, and then our second healer goes in. And then we provoke again. Wait for the Exaflares to lock in before you provoke. Inside save first. First save spot. Second save spot at the intersection, and then back to the boss. And then we have our melees take the auto attacks again. And then we go into the final mechanic, which is going to be the third Akh Morn's edge. This one is again outside save. I'm going to be taking this one with home gang, but you don't need to do it like this. This just means that our tanks don't really have to worry about their HP, and they can pop cooldowns for the final set of auto attacks. But you can just use this, or like do this like normal. So we have our last 2 auto attacks right here, and then we go into the Enrage. So for the Enrage itself, it's just going to be spawning 3 towers again. These 3 towers will kill whoever is in there, so you just use both of your 2 healers, and then also one of the tanks in the first set, and then you throw the other tank with the 2 lowest DPS players in the second set, and then the last one is just going to be killing you outright. These explosions come kind of fast after each other, so you do need to be very quick to jump in the tower when the person before you ended up dying. You do also want to stand in the towers, because if a tower is missing a person, they'll explode for rate-wide damage. So that's why you basically need to be sacking people in this. But yeah, hopefully you won't see too much of it. So as the first hit, and then we end up killing it right before the second hit. So the phase itself is fairly simple in terms of like the mechanics that are going to be happening, but it's your mitigation and your healing that is going to be carrying you through this fight, as well as like the tanks keeping on top of their tank swapping as well, because there is a lot of that going on in this phase as well. So that does it for the walkthrough of phase 7. If you have any more questions about it, then feel free to leave a comment down below and I'll definitely get back to you. But for now, I want to thank you for watching. I want to thank my Patreons for their support, and I'll see you in the next one.